ladies and gentlemen, once again, welcome to this very exciting segment of travel updates with Tanvi Goel of Oz India. Hey, it's nearly Christmas and what's happening out there. So with that, welcome to the show, Tanvi.
Thank you so much, Umesh. Thank you, everyone. And definitely Merry Christmas to you all and Happy New Year as well. I'm sure you all must be just preparing and doing things for Christmas. There are a lot of updates today. Few things are good, few things are not that great as well, but we all have to accept the reality and go ahead with that. So before we go ahead, just a little disclaimer that any information we share today is general information only, as rules and regulations can change anytime. Please keep yourself updated because individual cases may change as well.
Yes, individual cases changes and the rules and regulations keep changing by the hour. As all the territories are battling with getting all the new laws and rules in places, that's a lot of havoc out there as well. So that's why this segment is very important, to keep you up to date with what's happening out there. Well, with so much to talk about, let's get into the South Tanvi. So first of all, what are the updates right here in Australia?
So in Australia, guys, you might have seen the cases are a bit increasing. That means we all have to be, check that where we're going and what we are doing. It's still within the state, it's okay, but maybe try and avoid the hot spots and try to be safe, keep the mask and get yourself vaccinated. Once again, that's very, very important. Now, state-wise, Northern Territory opens up to COVID-19 requirements for visitors to Northern Territory. That means that fully vaccinated travelers can now access key locations to Uluru, Kakadu and other national parks as well as previously announced that high vaccination zones of Darwin, Catherine, Alice Springs. Travelers must complete a border entry pass and download the special D2D Now app and also return a negative PCR test 72 hours before arrival, with additional tests within 72 hours of entry and again on day 6. The changes have seen the introduction of 66 exertion zones, protecting remote communities that have a vaccination rate of less than 80% for residents aged above and up. Next is the Australian aviation sector has launched a joint campaign and code of conduct to promote respect for frontline airline staff. The No More Carry On initiative follows as an increase in disruptive and abusive behavior towards the airline's crew. So airport team and other passengers, including during the pandemic, with the campaign backed up by the Jetstar, Qantas, Rex, Virgin Australia and Australian airports, alongside the Civil Aviation's Safety and Authority and the Australian Federal Police as well. So guys, if you remember, we even discussed so many times before. In fact, I received calls from people as well that, sometimes because people are so stressed, they are misbehaving with the airport staffs and all. I would really request you all, please be patient. This campaign is really important because for the awareness, but we all have to be really very sensible because those who are frontline staffs, they are really putting their life, and helping us. So at least we can be kind to them and respect them. So that's really very important. So my request to you guys as well. Next is from Virgin Australia. So Santa Claus will make the appearance in all the Virgin Australia flights this week in the lead up to Christmas Day. So joining the Virgin Australia crew ahead of taking his keys to the skies on this coming Friday evening. So festive young flyers will also receive a special Santa request form where they can share their last minute Christmas request with flight attendants collecting the documents and passing to the Santa to review as well. So all the kids flying on this Friday, I think you guys are going to be very excited and you can fill your request to Santa, which is amazing. So definitely, Santa is on your way if you fly with Virgin Australia. That's really great, I would say, planned by Virgin Australia. Next is from Aviation Airlines. So Brisbane, Melbourne flights took off the very first time last Friday in a further expansion of the carrier in domestic jet network. The alliance is operating double daily flights between Brisbane and Melbourne flights on weekdays and a return service on both Saturdays and Sundays as well. The special fare is on $79 is on sale. throughout end of March, and with no Christmas blackout dates as well, which means if there is availability, you guys can book those amazing fares on the blackout dates even in Christmas times. Not only Rex Airlines, but Virgin Australia, Qantas, all the domestic flights also got some amazing offers for you guys to buy in last minute as well. Once again, I would recommend you guys to please check in the state you are in, whether you can fly, because of the new cases situation, or the advisory is a little bit changed now. The New South Wales and Victoria is completely open. Even the 3 days isolation was there before. They have removed that as well. Just have to do a COVID test. So there are bits and pieces changes, and they keep changing as well. So I would say even if your flight is next week, it's always good to check your state requirements, because it might be changed as well. So other than that, within your state, everything is doing good. If you jump on our website, you can even find out about the little tours as well, like a day tours. You can visit on www.ausindiatravel.com.au. Just type in the state or the city you are flying, and there are heaps of information about the day tours you guys can do. There are heaps of information there as well. Amazing.
Well, that is quite an update there, and I think the disruptive behavior of passengers on flights, that's been reported upon in few channels as well. So that is, as you have rightfully mentioned, that is not an acceptable behavior. I know that people are under a lot of stress. There are extended queues, more paperwork to be done for the check-in, mask, and not knowing what's happening. So, people get a little bit upset, but don't forget that these people are also doing a job, and they're providing a valuable and a vital service, even risking their lives to be out there in the front line. Well, okay, so moving on, what are the updates for Australia to India flights?
So Australia to India flights, guys, doing as usual. Just to give you a snapshot, like we always do, and I know you guys like it. So Emirates and Qatar are going from all major cities of Australia to India. It is 3-4 flights a week. Though for the coming week, there are not many availabilities. After New Year, you will find more availabilities and better fares. Other than those two flights, you have Air India flying from Melbourne and Sydney, 2-3 flights a week. You have Qantas flying from Melbourne, Sydney, Adelaide and Darwin, again 2-3 flights a week. Then you have Etihad is also going from Melbourne and Sydney and can be connected from other cities of Australia. There are 3-4 flights a week. You have Sri Lankan Airlines is also going from Sydney and Melbourne, 3-4 flights a week, and can be connected from other cities. And last but not least, you have Japan Airlines flight going directly from Sydney, though they have a longer haul generally in Tokyo around 16-17 hours, and that can be connected from other cities as well. So these are the main 5 flights flying from Australia to India at the moment.
Okay, so that's wonderful. That's very wonderful update there as well. Well, right now let's do a bit of breakdown, and let's go city by city, beginning from Brisbane. So what are the flight options from Brisbane at this point in time?
So from Brisbane, I would definitely recommend you guys to go with Emirates. If you remember last week also, I told you guys that there is an option that you can buy the return fare from Brisbane to Brisbane now, because Emirates started last week. And if you guys, come back in January, mid or after, you might get an amazing fare. I can see even $1,800 return fare also available on certain days. So Emirates definitely most recommended from here, because especially those who are going to Delhi, you have just 4.5 hours halt option. And to the small airport, it can be all connected via Delhi. But if you guys want, you can take Qatar Airlines option as well. Though in return, you might not have these many options to get the return flight or cheaper fare. So definitely Emirates is definitely number 1 to fly from Brisbane. If you want to have a shorter flights and you have some, family members or known people in Melbourne, Sydney, you guys might take, that 12 hours non-stop Air India or Qantas as well. But remember guys, because the Qantas and Air India flies in the morning, which means you have to go from Brisbane at least one night before, and you have to be at the airport overnight, or go outside and then take the next flight. So Virgin, then your Sri Lankan and Etihad flights can also be connected from Brisbane. But once again, I would say Emirates is the best option, and Emirates flies Tuesday, Fridays and Sundays from Brisbane. Next week.
So, Emirates is probably the best bet, by the way, the way that you have been explaining all that. Well, right now, having Brisbane covered, let's go to Sydney and find out what are the flight options from Sydney.
So Sydney, now as I always say, you guys are the most lucky ones because you got all 5 flights directly flying from Sydney. So you have Air India flying 2-3 days a week. So Fridays and Sundays, basically you have Air India flights going. You have Qantas flights Thursday, Fridays and Saturdays going. You have Qatar flights are actually going daily these days, and Emirates flights are also almost daily. So 5 to 6 flights at least you have on a weekly basis. And fare wise, the one-way fare you might see around $1,100-$1,200. Once again, it's after New Year, and return fare you might have $1,700-$1,800 as well. So quite good from Sydney.
That is wonderful news there from the Sydney, as they have taken over from Melbourne, being the luckiest ones at this point in time. So talking about Melbourne, what are the flight options from Melbourne?
So Melbourne, now you guys also have Qatar and Emirates pretty much every day going from there. So once again, after New Year, you will have better fares, but there are less options till New Year. So you have Qatar and Emirates daily. Then you have Air India flights flying on Thursday and Saturdays. You have Qantas flights also going at least 2-3 flights a week. And Sri Lankan Airlines as well. So once again, if I talk about return flight options, Emirates is definitely winning from Melbourne as well, giving you the most possible and best possible options. And the return fare can be $1,700-$1,800 as well from Melbourne.
And that's a pretty good fare there. So, okay, moving on, let's go to South Australia and find out the flight status from Adelaide.
So Adelaide, the best possible option for you to go to India is definitely Qantas, because you have a 12 hours non-stop Qantas flight from Adelaide to Delhi. Then you can connect from there to anywhere you want to. Second option is definitely Qatar, because Qatar got you the one-stop option, which flies on Tuesday, Thursday and Saturdays. And then you have Emirates flight, which can be connected from other places as well. And they are pretty direct daily flights you can have from Adelaide. So there are plenty of flights. You guys can fly pretty much 7 days a week from Adelaide as well. Though a little bit, less options, and except Qantas, the fares are a little bit expensive. Because in some flights we need to connect to a domestic flight as well, and domestic cost is a little bit high. But yeah, there are plenty of options. Fare wise, $1,800 to $2,000 return you might see if you are flying in January and coming back a bit later. But yeah, generally fares are a little bit expensive than other places in Adelaide.
Okay, so those are the options there from Adelaide. Well, right now, the Western Australia, the other side of Australia, as we say. So what are the flight options from Perth at this point in time?
So at Perth, going from Perth to India, there is no problem. We have Emirates flight on Tuesday, Thursday and Sundays. You have Qatar flights also Monday, Friday and Sundays, which means at least 5 to 6 days a week you have direct flights flying from Perth directly. We can connect you Air India and Qantas, Japan and all other airlines as well, though the fare can be expensive because we need to connect to domestic flight. And returning option, also you guys might have after 5th of February, because that's where government is planning to open. So Emirates already got some flights to be booked. If you guys go now and come back after 5th of February, you can book return flight with Emirates as well, which is really exciting news. And fare wise, it can be somewhere from $1,800 onwards as well for you, Misty.
So there you go, up to date on the travel updates with Tanvi Goel. So we've got all the cities covered. Right now, one of the questions that every time keeps coming up is update from India, or the India to Australia flights.
So India to Australia flights, guys, there's a lot going on right now. There are quite a few options as well, though they are a little bit less than they used to be. But I really want to clear there are a few points which people keep asking and still get confused, though we cover that all the time. But let me just clear that for you. So still Australian citizens, PR, their parents who are immediate family members now, their spouses and kids can come. Also students and some skilled and other categories are also included. So all those categories can come to Australia. But remember, there are some categories who need still exemption to come here. For example, parents. So if you are PR citizen, your parents are allowed to come to Australia. remember they must have a valid visa to come here, and also you have to apply exemption. So exemption, I heard sometime it even comes in 5 to 7 days as well. But remember guys, your parents won't be able to fly if they don't have valid exemption. So make sure, I would suggest that you get your exemption done before you book your flight, or your flight should be at least 1 or 2 months later so they get the exemption. And you should book the flexible option also in case you are booking any of those flights, because there are some charters as well, as we've mentioned before, and you probably guys already know that charter means the flight is non-changeable, non-refundable, which means you're losing the 100% money if you are not able to get that flight. So remember, you need to get the exemption for your parents. Now flight wise, they are Air India and Qantas is winning the most right now. So because they are non-stop 12 hours flights. If you are guys are from Melbourne, Sydney, you can just come straight in 12 hours. But if you are taking a Qantas flight, you have option to take, for example, Delhi to Sydney and Sydney to Brisbane. You have to do your immigration at first point of arrival in Australia, which means if you're coming from India to Melbourne or Sydney, then you have to do it directly over there. But then you have to just 1 second. But you can come straight to Brisbane. That's so great news. From 13th of December onwards, now people in you can come to Queensland as well and can do 14 days home quarantine. But remember, you have to take out the baggage in Sydney or Melbourne, and then you do the immigration and take your domestic flight to Brisbane. And if you are doing a home quarantine in Brisbane or Queensland, guys, remember, if you do a home quarantine, anyone living in that house, they all have to do home quarantine, or you live there alone. Otherwise, you have to do a hotel option as well. There are some people who are just staying 14 days in New South Wales or Victoria, so they can just come home straight here as well. So please decide and make your choices before you come or before you book the flights, so you know exactly what needs to be done. There's one thing very, very important, guys, which I have seen many people have kind of had problem recently. So that is, if you have booked flight, for example, Qantas from Delhi to Sydney or Delhi to Melbourne to Brisbane, and you are thinking to break your journey and stay in Sydney or Melbourne, then remember, you don't check in your flight to Brisbane. If you check in that flight, you won't be able to change that flight, because checked in means the flight is under control of airlines, and if they do it, is fine, but we can't do it from our side because that's gone from our control. So that's very, very important that you decide if you're going to quarantine in Brisbane, specifically if I talk about Brisbane or any other states, and you are coming to a different state, you must not check in for your domestic flight in order to change that flight, because if you checked in, your flight is gone. You can't change it later on, and you have to buy your domestic ticket at additional cost, a new ticket at additional cost. So that is very, very important. Now flight wise, as I said, Qantas and Air India is winning and getting the maximum flights. Fares also starting at $1,300 or $1,400 onwards as well. They generally fly Delhi to Sydney or Delhi to Melbourne. There are some options for Delhi to Adelaide and Delhi to Darwin as well in case of Qantas, and Air India to Melbourne and Sydney. Now you have some Sri Lankan Airlines option as well. They are the group flights. So please remember, when you're booking the commercial flight, whether that one is going or not, because majority of time Sri Lankan group option or charter options are going. You have some Etihad options also going. Emirates is doing definitely absolutely good, especially if you're coming January after, and Qatar also got some options if you're coming January end or February. I would suggest, if you guys are going from Australia and coming back in maybe 6 months or maybe in just a few months, it's best if you book the return flights. And those who are just taking one stop flight from India, it's again depends. If you guys are just coming here for some time, your parents are coming here for some time, then you can just check the fare. So for example, if you're getting $1,400 one-way fare and you're getting $2,800, $3,000 fare for the return flight, I would recommend you to just book one way if you're coming from India for $1,500 rather than giving $3,000, because in few months we might see there are some better options coming up, and it's still within $1,500. You should be able to get one way anyway. So but if you change your flight that time, then you will be paying extra to change your flight. So I would suggest just take the informed decision and decide what is the best possible option, but definitely recommend you to take the flexible option. And I would say suggest, decide your date before you book the flight, because changing means you have to pay really a lot of money on that. Guys, one more thing very important, don't forget to carry your double vaccination certificate. It must have a passport number. And also, when you get your vaccination done in India or you get a certificate, please match your name with the passport, because in India there are many cases I've seen even recently this week then where people had the name written as per their national ID, and the name on the national ID and name on their passport is different. So please make sure that it's corrected. If not, if you have already got the vaccination certificate, because that can be really big problem for you. Otherwise, you should have got some letter stating that you are the same person, so you don't have any problem last minute. So other than that, everything is really going good. We're expecting some more flights to start. India have closed the borders still up to 31st of January. But remember, that does not mean that existing flight which we discussed so far are not flying though. So these flights got the special permissions. They are flying, but not every airlines can fly up till 31st of January 2022. So other than that, everything is good. We're expecting some more news and definitely more flights in the upcoming weeks, which we'll be discussing with you, Amish.
Yes, of course, it is very, very important to have all those things right in place. And as you mentioned about the names, we know with Indian nationals and in some of the states, the way the names are written, the surnames and other things. And that is the case with some of the other Asian countries as well, where, they have a lot of problem with the surname and the first name. Okay, moving on. As we now, there's lots of talks about all these international flights happening, borders opening, and who can travel that, there'll be a lot of things happening. And especially with an announcement, I think you'll probably cover that, is in New South Wales, that there will be a little bit of quarantine free for some areas as well. So what are the updates for international, or what do you have internationally?
So guys, there are a lot of things, as Umesh rightly mentioned, that some things are opening up, but because of this new virus, Omicron, and new cases all around in Australia, statewide, and even around the world, so a situation little bit changed, advisory little bit changed as well. So overall, I would say once again to you guys that maybe fly if it's really important for you to fly next couple of months if you have not done your booking already, and if you have done it, just closely check that whether you need to change or make any changes to your plan. But let me just go through airlines wise and what exactly the main updates for this week. So let's start with Virgin Australia. So Virgin Australia's first international flight since COVID-19 pandemic has taken off, with the airline saying bulla to Fiji just last week, 2-3 days back, to celebrate the significant milestone. VA hosted an epic party prior to the flight departure. So naturally featuring Fijian Australian singer-songwriter Polini, who performed You Guessed It. So that was really amazing. And with the airline's cabin crew taking center stage as backup dancers, and Haldika also gave every passenger a free economy return fare everywhere on the Virgin Australia, which was really fantastic. So yeah, Virgin Australia already started flights to Fiji. Next is the easing of Queensland government restrictions on international travel has seen Emirates flights are now operating at full capacity to Brisbane. So that's the one which I discussed to you before as well, and that's really quite exciting. While similar moves in Western Australia will see a return to 100% capacity from 5th of February. That's also I informed to you before. So Emirates also boosting the frequency of flights to both cities from Dubai, with the services set to increase to at least 5 times a week. Emirates is also excited to increase our outbound capacity to Brisbane and Perth as a part of the continued return to international travel across the country. So we will be seeing a lot more flights are coming up as well, and already there are lots, but these all flights are basically coming from mid-January onwards, and really amazing to see and fantastic fares Emirates got. So once again, thanks to Emirates for keep doing and everything really starting and surviving through on the pandemic. So fantastic news. Next is from Qatar Airways. So Qatar Airways private jet division Qatar executive has taken delivery of an additional 3 Gulf Stream G650ER aircraft, so boosting its overall fleet to 11. So the so-called G6 has 7,500 nautical mile range, giving its global reach, allowing to operate non-stop flight from Doha to New York in about 13 hours, and they are planning a lot more things as well. So private jet, I would say, and the charters are kind of new normal in COVID-19 in past 2 years, and really quite great to see the new additional aircrafts of Qatar Airways as well. So next is from Singapore. So new procedure for travelers to Singapore who tested positive for COVID-19 or are identified as a close contact have become effective from this week. So travelers residing in hotels will now recover or isolate in their rooms by default, rather than being assessed by the ministry. So fully vaccinated travelers will be issued an isolation order to remain in their accommodation for around 10 days or 14 days for those who are unvaccinated or partially vaccinated, after which they will be automatically discharged from their further test requirements. So guys, if you remember, we told you quite a few times that for business travelers, there were different requirements for Singapore, but recently we have seen some, a lot of news for Singapore. So we thought we'll let you know that government is really doing all that, those who came to positive. But if you're traveling to Singapore, please check their recent rules and regulations. You might have to do a quarantine again and see, little isolation, but still at this stage, probably not recommended to fly. Next is from United Airlines. They have announced that the Beach Pier Bondi XPA is not available in their all flights from Sydney to San Francisco and Los Angeles. The boutique craft beer will be offered from until March, at least so far, from the pale, locally brewed and specially sourced from UA hometown Chicago. And there'll be a lot more things which they are planning. So I think that's quite exciting to see that they have new range of beach beer in the flight, especially all the flights from Sydney to Francisco, but they are planning a lot more as well. So that's quite exciting. I can see the smile on Umeji's face. Next is from Thai. So Thai authorities are considering the suspension of the country's test and go program, which was currently allowing passengers, fully vaccinated passengers traveling, and travelers arriving from specified countries to enter Thailand without quarantine requirements. So officials cited the rise of Omicron, this variant of COVID-19, for the possible move, which would see the restatement in the sandbox and state quarantine scheme. So if you guys are flying to Thailand, you might have to reconsider your plans as well, because the test and go program is pretty much on hold at the moment because of Omicron. So yeah, right. So advisory has been changed for Thailand. Next is from UK. So an increase in coronavirus infections in UK has seen the France ban tourists from Britain, with the move smashing the French ski sector, which was about to launch its peak season, which we discussed to you guys before as well. But under the new arrangements, only designated category of travelers can now enter France from UK, and more arriving from must self-isolate, and exemptions are always there, but it's only for if someone is going to attend some funerals or some essential workers, but not for the tourists and business travelers. So not only people who are coming from Britain, but if there are people, the Australians also who are there overseas and planning to, enter UK or France, please reconsider your travel, because, advisory has been changed for that as well. Next is from Disney. So guests arriving at Orlando Airport to visit Walt Disney World Resorts can now access a new theme transport option, so in the form of a new Sunshine Flyer. So transfers from transportation management services feature late model premium motor coaches theme on old-fashioned car, train engines, and so many amazing things, especially old-based. This time they got of 1920s. So operators said the flyer would allow guests to start the magic of their Disney vacation from the moment they step off the plane. So from there onwards, you will be able to see all those fantastic things. So they are planning actually the whole trade, which will be great. So hopefully, if this Corona goes well, then you guys would be able to enjoy all the Walt Disney World resorts and all the additional things these guys are adding up. So that's really fantastic. Next is from US. So incoming passengers at some US airports are being offered at free at-home COVID-19 test kits under a new Centers for Disease Control initiative, which I think we discussed with you. There are some different airports and airlines also giving free kits for COVID-19 test. So they are currently available at Miami, Chicago, Dallas, and some airports in US, and the tests are also set to roll out on a wider basis in the coming weeks, according to CDC. So there are really a lot happening, guys, around the world, I would say, in US or anywhere at the moment. So once again, they are changing their advisory to fly. Next is from Canada. So the Canadian government has also released a new guidelines urging its citizens to avoid all the international travel, even they are fully vaccinated against COVID-19. The country's health minister said the rapid spread of the COVID Omicron variant is for the move. The advisory also note the implementation of strict travel restriction in some countries, and in fact they are saying people might get stuck there as well if you go. So I know there are many people even from Australia, from here, they are planning to travel different places because everything in last couple of months looks like going smooth, and we're getting really good vaccination rate, which is really great. But I think we have to be a little bit more careful of this new variant. Omicron seems it doesn't have much effect by the sounds of it, but still it's spreading, so it's good to really reconsider our travel at the moment. So and also we got a news from Dubai. So Carnival Corporation has officially celebrated the opening of the Dubai Harbour Cruise Terminal, which this Carnival developed jointly with the Shamal Holding in a strategic partnership, and they have already opened that the cruise tourism in Dubai. So there are already so many exciting things, guys, in Dubai, and I would say overall once again Dubai and Emirates is winning flight wise as well. But if you see overall, the recommendation for this week would be just try and reconsider your international travel. In fact, the state travel as well. Just see and try to be within your state and be safe. And if you have not done your vaccination yet, highly recommended to complete your double vaccination, because this is definitely a key to going forward from now. Umeshi.
And definitely a key to going forward is that vaccination, and we can't stress enough the importance of getting that vaccinated. And of course, all the people who have had both the doses, and if you have passed that time, you can go for your booster ones as well. So that's recommended. I know it is a bit of a hassle, but I think it is in the best interest. And this COVID-19 is here to stay. The Omicron is spreading quite fast, as Tanvi mentioned, although its effect is not the same as Delta. But even then, its outreach is great. It grows it doubles itself, so it goes very fast. So, having covered all of those there, Tanvi, right in the, in conclusion, what would be your expert tips for this point in time?
So tip would be, guys, first of all, I have to tell you one more thing, that now there were some airlines going from Australia before taking unvaccinated people as well, but now I can't see even a single airlines internationally who can take unvaccinated passengers. So please keep that in mind, that advisory is now completely changed. You have to be fully vaccinated to fly from Australia to India, India to Australia, and worldwide. Now, whenever you're flying, guys, once again, I requested you guys before as well, if you have a domestic segment in your international flight and you are thinking to change it, please remember not to checking that one, because if you checked in, you have no choice to change it later on, and you have to pay from your pocket to buy the new ticket for your domestic ticket. So that is very, very important. And please check your rules and regulation always whenever you are flying. Try to do the web check-in for whichever flight you are flying, domestically as well. So those flights which you are flying, once again, not the one you are planning to change. So that's very important, because sometimes airlines changes the plan. I know the charter who was supposed to fly on 23rd of December, now they have preponed the flight by 5 hours. So which means if you don't check your regular emails and you don't check in for the commercial flights or whatever flights you have booked in, you might miss out the flight. So that's very, very important. Please fill all the forms before you leave your home, from your laptop, because these forms are very hard to fill on the phone, and sometimes it shows really a lot of errors, and it may take 5-6 hours as well sometimes, because there are a lot of heavy loads on these websites, and sometimes there are so many errors coming. So please give yourself some time, try and fill all the forms. So from Australia, you need to fill Air Suvidha form, which is mandatory to fill for all international arriving passengers to India. And if you're coming from India to Australia, Australian travel declaration form is most important to fill. And these two forms really takes a lot of time sometimes, because of a lot of errors comes in there. So please fill all those. It is very, very important. And if you guys need any checklists, as I always say, that there is no charge, we can share those checklists with you. We update those checklists every week for you guys to reuse them. There is a links, instruction, and step-by-step things what you all need to do. Please don't assume anything. This is something which we have been talking the whole year, and I still keep listening that people say, my friend traveled 2 months back and he did that, so I'm doing this. No, it is not like that. So, and whatever information is out there sometimes on social media, it's so very, very confusing. So it's good to just take the expert advice and get the actually what needs to be done, rather than assuming. So assuming is something which you should not do at all, especially these days. Please be very careful with your bookings as well, especially online. There are so many scams are reported every single day from Australia, especially India as well, that people are selling something which is not available, because as I said, there are limited number of flights, hardly 5-6 flights which are operating between Australia to India, India to Australia. So when someone says that they're taking guarantee or they're doing this, please reconsider that, and book only the main airlines who are operating and survived throughout the pandemic, rather than assuming that the airlines is planning to fly in February, so let's book that one because that's a direct flight. No, it's not recommended from my side. Just book only reliable options and pick only flexible options where you can change your dates as well. So we try to cover pretty much everything. If you guys have any further questions, you can write down here as well. You can send us email, or you can jump on our website, which is www.ausindiatravel.com.au. You can jump on our Facebook, which is Ausindia Travel. You can write in the comment section and just let us know if there is any question you want us to answer. We are there to help you. We have 61 more episodes on Australian Indian Radio, Chantex Media, Brisbane Times, Ausindia Travel social media platforms, where you guys can go through as well. You can just copy the link and share to your friends on WhatsApp. It can be really your Christmas gift to your friend, really, to give them information, because this is the most important time of the year as well, that where people are really thinking to go, and they really want to know that exactly what to expect and how to plan. And I hope you all have really fantastic New Year 2022. You have really amazing time. Looking forward to actually just the good news, I would say, in 2022, and I'm sure it will be there. So you all have a fantastic Christmas and Happy New Year. And once again, if there is anything, feel free to call us, and we are there to help you. Ramesh.
Thank you very much for that advice, which is very, very important, especially around this time of the year, just days away from Christmas, that being very careful, being careful of the scammers as well. So if you were booking anything, even buying anything online these days, you need to be very careful, who you give out all your credit card details. There are bogus companies and everyone offering all sorts of things. So once again, wishing everyone all the very best for the festive season, in whichever way, in whichever manner you celebrate. If you're traveling, be safe, follow the rules and regulations and all the tips that have been provided in the show. And as Tanvi has mentioned, there's all those other episodes there, which you can always go and refer to. Well, right now, it's time to say goodbye from this segment until the next segment. Tanvi, anything in conclusion?
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.